Imagine this. It's a summer evening in 1975. You're maybe 9 or 10. You've been out since morning, building forts in the woods, trading baseball cards, maybe getting into a scrap with a kid down the block over whose turn it was on the swing. No one called to check on you. No one texted your location. When the streetlights flickered on, you just knew it was time to head home. Dinner might be whatever was in the fridge, eaten in front of the TV while your parents argued quietly in the kitchen about bills or something else they didn't want you to hear. That wasn't neglect, that was just normal. And for millions of kids who came of age in the 1970s, those ordinary moments left a mark deeper than nostalgia. It wasn't just things were simpler, it was a world that taught you, without ever saying it out loud, that life is unpredictable, adults aren't always reliable, and you better learn to handle yourself. Today, we're unpacking the psychology behind that generation, the kids who rode in the back of cars without seatbelts, breathed secondhand smoke like it was air, and grew up amid skyrocketing divorce, economic chaos, and a national hangover from Vietnam and Watergate. What did that do to your wiring? Let's go through it step by step. First, the family fracture. The 1970s marked the real beginning of the modern divorce boom in America. Divorce rates roughly doubled from the early 1960s to the late 1970s, peaking around 1980-1981 at about 22 to 23 divorces per 1,000 married women, far higher than the 9 to 10 range in 1960. For kids, this wasn't abstract stats. It was half the class suddenly having 2 bedrooms, 2 Thanksgivings, 2 sets of rules. Researchers like E. Mavis Hetherington, who followed over 1,000 families for decades in her landmark studies on divorce, found clear patterns. Many children stepped into parentified roles. That means taking on emotional labor, comforting a crying mom after a bad day, keeping younger siblings quiet, or just not adding to the stress. From the outside, you looked mature beyond your years. Inside, it often felt like carrying an invisible weight. You learned early that asking for too much could overwhelm the grown-ups who were already stretched thin. So you stopped asking. You became the kid who doesn't need much. That's self-sufficiency. It's not always a personality quirk. Sometimes it's a survival adaptation that's stuck around into adulthood. You handle crises calmly because you've seen worse at home. You fix problems yourself because no one else was coming. But here's the flip side. And this is what gets missed in most conversations about 70s kids. You had real freedom. Not the cute, Instagram-filtered kind. The raw, figure it out or don't kind. Developmental psychologists like Peter Gray have written extensively about how unstructured, unsupervised play builds core skills, negotiating rules with peers, resolving fights without adults, inventing games from nothing, reading social cues on your own. In the 70s, that was daily life. You roamed neighborhoods, explored empty lots, came home scraped up and starving. No playdates scheduled by parents, no GPS trackers. Parents knew roughly where you were, somewhere outside, and that was enough. Gray's research shows this kind of free play fosters resilience, creativity, and tolerance for uncertainty. You didn't need constant validation or resolution. You learned to sit with ambiguity. Arguments with friends? Sort it out tomorrow. Bored? Make something happen. That bred a quiet confidence. I'll figure it out. It's why so many 70s kids handle chaos better than later generations. They've had practice. Then there's the bigger cultural air you breathed. The 1970s weren't optimistic. Vietnam dragged to a messy end in 1975. Watergate forced Nixon out in 1974. Inflation hit double digits, gas lines, shortages, stagflation. The bright 60s promise curdled into suspicion. Polls tell the story starkly. In 1964, about 77% of Americans trusted the federal government to do the right thing most of the time. By 1980, that cratered to around 25%, a 50-plus point drop in one generation. You absorbed that delusionment osmotically, through dinner table talk, TV news in the background, parents' weary sighs. It wasn't outright cynicism, it was calibrated skepticism. Institutions don't always work. Authority figures can be wrong or worse. Adults aren't infallible. You developed an early irony, a dry humor about life's absurdities. You didn't expect the world to be fair, you expected to navigate it anyway. Yet, despite the fractures, the freedom, the distrust, 70s kids built some of the deepest, most loyal connections out there. Why? Because connection wasn't performative. No social media likes, no endless feeds of curated friendship. When someone showed up, really showed up, you noticed, you remembered. Friendships from childhood or your 20s often last decades because you learned scarcity. Not everything lasts, so when it does, you protect it fiercely. Psychologist Dan McAdams talks about narrative identity, how we story our lives. For people raised in instability, those stories tend to be complex, layered, and honest. You've seen contradiction up close, loving parents who couldn't stay together, good intentions that fell short, beauty and broken things. That doesn't make you jaded, it makes you wise in a grounded way. You tolerate reality as it is, not as you wish it to be. Picture a typical 1978 afternoon. You're 12, pedaling home alone after a pickup baseball game. Mom's at work, maybe 2 jobs since Dad left. The house is quiet. You make a sandwich, turn on the radio, maybe Hotel California or Ricky Don't Lose That Number fading in and out. No one asks how your day was, but you're okay. You've got this. That quiet competence, it's a gift wrapped in hardship. If any of this hits home, if you've spent years thinking your independence was just how you are, or why you can wait out uncertainty without panicking, or why your closest bonds feel unbreakable, then you know exactly what I'm talking about. The 1970s didn't raise perfect kids. It raised adaptable ones, realistic ones who learned to hold on loosely but love deeply. So if you're watching and nodding along, drop a comment. Which part resonates most? The freedom, the family shifts, the quiet skepticism? I'd love to hear your stories. Thanks for spending this time with me. If you want more dives into the psychology that shapes us, how eras leave fingerprints on our minds, hit subscribe and turn on notifications. There's a join button if you'd like to support these longer, thoughtful videos directly. I've got more coming on similar themes. Check the end screen for recommendations. Until next time, ride safe, figure it out, and hold the good stuff close. This should feel authentic, reflective, and original while hitting the core ideas you liked. It's structured for engagement, personal scenes, research backing, emotional payoff, and a gentle close. Let me know if you want tweaks like adding more humor, shortening sections, or focusing on specific traits.